side-by-side coming down, and it's going to be Caleb Hall taking it.
This is it. The Championship 5 have been set as we begin the final run towards the ProLine Cup. Today, we find ourselves at a venue that eats tires ruthlessly, Rockingham Speedway in North Carolina. There have been some historic races here, and Solstice Racing hopes to join that list as we start this final round. Jeremy Stanley proved that the playoff drivers aren't as invincible as we thought they were, as he snuck a victory over Joey Bailey last week out in Brooklyn, Michigan. It's Brandon Nicholson down on pit lane, Dylan Body, and Dylan Livingood alongside me. I am Josh Mertz, bringing you the call, as always, for High Voltage Media Productions tonight. And this is exciting, guys. We got 3 races left to see who's going to win this championship.
Yeah, and it's going to be an all-out sprint till the end here, till the final race. This is it. We're here. We're going to close out this season. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait, Josh.
Interestingly, as we finish up qualifying, Keith Sherman on pole position in car number 15 over Dylan Poteet in the 22. Jake Poulin, Michael Frisch, Taylor Morgans, Ricky Johnson, and Cosman are the 7 cars that ran some times. We do have 10 cars here today. A couple notable omissions as we begin happy hour. There is no Brandon Lambert, and there's no Joey Bailey, as we were just about to go over how Joey Bailey has surged to the top, but something's going on in the 51 camp. We don't know why, but he's not here.
Yeah, you really have to have that consistency now more than ever. And, Dale Earnhardt had a famous quote saying, it doesn't matter where you qualify, it's all about where you finish. And so we'll see if Joey Bailey can tackle the rock here and, get some work done.
As I hate to roast you on a live stream, Dylan, but he's not here at all. There's no Joey Bailey here tonight in Rockingham. That's going to open Frisch's lead. Everybody resets with 3,000 points. Frisch has 5 wins, but he has not won in 4 weeks. I'm thinking the blown engine in Talladega might have rattled his confidence, but he has no Joey Bailey to contend with.
Yeah, and so really it's going to come down to, Poulin and Eshu and Wentz here. Wetz hasn't won a race, Cosman hasn't won a race in a long time, Jake hasn't won since Daytona, so really, it could be a runaway for Frisch right now, unless he blows it.
The interesting thing is, can we see if Cosman and Poulin will put up a fight? But Poulin, as great of a driver as he is, I rewatched the Daytona show a couple hours ago in preparation for this. Depending on which side of the fence you're on, you can say Poulin only won because of his transponder issue that knocked Schwartz into the wall. You can say he won from luck from that, or just Frisch not making a good run. But that was his only win, and it was from a bumper. What's interesting is Cosman won in 5 flags in Pensacola. Jukasa next week is that same style racetrack. So I think that's going to suit him very well if he can have that performance that week. We're going to a little bit ahead of ourselves, but that gives Cosman a little bit of confidence going into that next race.
Yeah, good point there, Josh.
As starting grid for today's race in Rockingham, like I said, pole position Keith Sherman in the 15, Dylan Poteet in the 22. They were both knocked out of the playoffs. Jake Poulin, Michael Frisch, and then Taylor Morgans, your Richmond winner, Ricky Johnson, who I believe raced in Talladega, if I'm not mistaken, but it's been a while since we saw him. Cosman in 7th. 8th is Chris Wetz. 9th is Jeremy Stanley, the Michigan winner, and 10th is Nick Baker. As running through happy hour, couple cars running some laps here. Taylor Morgans is fastest at a 23.917. I've really been astounded at the speed that these guys are carrying through these corners. We had to expect that speed is not going to be able to be held throughout the race.
Well, yeah, and like you said at the beginning of the broadcast, this track eats tires. I know Brandon, you were down there running some laps in your test car. What did you find out running some laps down there?
Yeah, thank you, Dylan. I definitely found out that there's a lot of bumps on this track. There's bumps all the way around. The preferred line is definitely going to be through the middle and high line of the track. If you run that bottom lane coming out of the corners, you are going to spin. I mean, the bumps are just vicious here.
As like we had mentioned, we talked about Frisch, we talked about Bailey not being here. We talked about Poulin, we talked about Cosman. Let's talk about your old Revolution Racing teammate, Chris Wetz. He hasn't won a race this season, but he's certainly gotten close.
Yeah, and that 71 car, I mean, they're really trying to put in a tough run to the end, and be good to see the 71 close it out.
As Dylan Poteet goes fastest now, 23.750, 2/10 of a second faster than Morgan's in the 66. I have to think about Frisch not winning in 4 weeks, and I have to think that he hasn't won in the playoffs at all so far. Is that going to hurt him?
Well, he has been on a really kind of a cold, quiet streak here through the last few races. It's really tough. I mean, with the lead that he has, I mean, he can kind of do that, but how long he can keep doing that and how long it's going to work for him and how long his lead's going to last, it's all going to depend on him. I mean, now with everything resetting back to even, I mean, it's really going to be mano-y-mano.
As race format, as we are about to kick it off here in Rockingham, did not mean to interrupt you there, Dylan. 100 laps here tonight. We have our stage break at lap 35.
Yeah, you're all good on the interruption. No big deal over here. I was reading through I thought I saw a report earlier in the week from Joey Bailey's team about a new paint scheme, and sure enough, it's out there. They were pretty excited to get to debut that, so, just a little more mystery into that situation. And also on the note of Frisch, I was just thinking, he's got that advantage now with us not having Bailey here. This could be his race to kind of take it easy and just make sure he gets as many points as possible and gets out of here clean and try and carry that momentum. 2 more weeks after this, it's going to be close, but he could really get a good lead here tonight.
Well,
As
and
the
Dylan,
points-
we've seen it when he capitalizes when it counts, and so there's really no question that Frisch is going to amp up his game a little bit, but how successful is he going to be, kind of riding that cold streak? That's really hard to tell.
As we start to grit them up here in Rockingham, I'm looking through our results here of all the races. I think Rockingham really is by itself. I mean, we don't race a track like Dover. We don't race a track like Bristol. That kind of relates to this track. This is kind of realistically all by itself. So it's kind of a wild card in its own right.
Well, and let's have our team pull up our schedule here really quick. I mean, if you look, Rockingham, Ducasse, and Atlanta, I mean, you could say Atlanta's going to be another cookie-cutter mile and a half, but we know from experience running it, it's really not. It's really bumpy, it's really slick, it's going to be a tough final race. It always has been here in Solstice Racing for the ProLine Series. I mean, I've ran in those championship races and embarrassed myself so bad. And so, we have 3 unique rounds to close it out here, Josh, and that just makes things really exciting.
As we start to fire the engines in Rockingham.
The most famous words in motorsports.
As it's interesting to note that the 2 drivers that literally finished in that exact order with Frisch on the top groove, Poulin on the bottom groove, 15 weeks ago, 16 weeks ago in Daytona are lining up next to each other to begin this final round of the playoffs. So granted, the field is shrinking just a pinch, but like we mentioned a couple weeks ago, small fields typically lead to cleaner races, to more exciting races. We saw Stanley and Bailey last week. That was certainly a very good race. And thank you for joining us here on HVMP as we truck through this season, winding it down. We're going to begin this final round of the playoffs. It's Keith Sherman and Dylan Poteet on the front row of the grid. We're going to go 100 laps around the rock here in North Carolina. Pace cars off. 10 cars, 100 laps, and 1 step closer to glory. Green flag.
Pretty equal off the start here, Josh.
Side by side in a turn 1. Sherman and Poteet. Poulin backed up the corner. He gets by Frisch nearly. They were side by side. Poteet's going to get by Sherman, and Poulin's going to back out of it, so he does not take the fight to the 15. Frisch, high, wide, and handsome on the outside. Past the 15 is Sherman. Poteet, our Chicagoland winner, leads at the end of the first lap. And points leader Frisch leads the way of the playoff drivers. As remember, guys, you do get a bonus point for leading a lap, I believe. So we have to expect these guys to push so hard to get out front.
Yeah, I mean, a point's a point, isn't it?
As joining us up in the commentary box, as Brandon Lambert, not sure why you weren't able to race tonight, but you have been able to join us here in Rockingham. Granted, we're only a couple laps in, but what do you think so far?
I actually haven't got in to see anything yet.
As they mic'd him up and they didn't turn his monitor on. Perfect. Poteet, Frisch, Poulin, Sherman, Morgan's the top 5. Then Cosman, Ricky Johnson, Stanley, Wetz, and Baker rounds out the top 10 and the field. I think Stanley's going to take a couple laps here to get used to this car. I mean, he's been lightning quick ever since he re-debuted here in the ProLine Cup Series. I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with tonight.
Yeah, and Josh, it's really fascinating to see the two different groups, come into play here. I mean, we're seeing the guys run the extreme high line and the bottom line, and both making it work, so.
As let's take a look and see. Our fastest lap so far is Poulin at a 23.887. And Poteet a 913, Frisch a 954. So these guys are really on top of each other. Poulin was a tenth slower that last lap.
Yeah, and
Again,
Poulin hugging the draft right now. He's trying to catch up to those front two.
The gap is 0.3 of a second off of turn 4. It closed. I think Frisch got a much better run through 3 and 4 that last lap. 24 flat to a 23.9. He was half a tenth faster, but it cut the gap. I'm not sure what happened there between the 22 and the 58. And granted, we can't really technically call him the points leader just yet because everyone still is tied, but we're still going to call him that. Our points leader outside, peaking on the 22, can't make it happen.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I was
Brandon
just gonna say,
Dixon down on pit road. He's going to be our statistician for today, so we should see an updated ticker here with the points after round 1 or after stage 1.
As to the inside goes Frisch on Poteet. This is going to be our lead change, and our points leader, technically he actually will be the points leader if he can eke this lap lead out. Can't do it just yet.
Yeah, but we're seeing Poteet get the momentum coming off the corner, and that's what's helping him stay alive right now.
As Frisch still on the inside of the 22. I think he can get the run out of the middle of the corner. I don't think it's going to happen this time. And Frisch to the point and to the points lead after leading that lap. And now these guys have to be worried. They have to think, oh God, this guy's led the points all season long. He's been stupidly fast. What is going to happen? Poulin needs to be careful. He needs to keep him in his sights because we know Frisch can pull away. And we know Frisch can win races.
Yeah, I think the specialty of the Frisch Express is checking out based on this season. It's just been wild watching this guy.
Well, you've definitely hopped on board, haven't you, Dylan?
It seems like every time I'm here, he fires that thing up and cranks it into a different gear. So I might as well jump on before it's too far away to get a hang of it.
You may be his good luck charm here.
As the gap has closed, it was a car length. About half now, fluctuating between half and a full car length. Poteet's not giving up, our Chicagoland winner. Interestingly, granted, Frisch blew up after like 5 laps, but Frisch blew up in Chicago, and it gave that opportunity for Poteet to steal that victory away. Interestingly, I just realized there's no Chad Mikas here tonight. So, not sure where the Chicago native is. But it's another one of our guys that we are down tonight as the grid. I think, unfortunately, when you get to the end of the season, these guys are tired. They're not in the playoffs. They think, what is the point? And they just don't want to bother with it.
You know, and it takes a huge commitment unless they're going to get that debut. I mean, there's guys who circle off certain races on their list. Jukasa, it's going to be a brand new track. We're going to see that debut next week. We could see a big field for that. Hopefully we do. But if not, whoa, as
Whoa,
Poteet gets
Poteet.
way loose
Good
off the corner.
save, but he's going to lose second, and this is what Poulin wants to see. He wants to get that non-playoff driver out of his way, and he wants to take the fight to Frisch.
Yeah, and Poulin's been working on this for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know how much attention you guys have been paying, but I've been kind of focused in on him, and it seems like every time he really closes the gap and make it a three-car battle for the lead here, the exit at turn 2, he just seems to stick the tail end a little bit out. You know, I've seen it once about every 5 laps over this run here so far. Right when he gets close, he seems to have a little issue getting off the corner, and then he drops back a few car lengths.
Yeah, and that could be a little bit of aero effect coming off the car in front. Really not sure. This aero package has been so weird this season. We've seen so many things happen just aero-wise that have just boggled my mind. So,
as Cosman battling with Sherman. Continue, Dylan. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh,
no, you're all good. I was just...
Guys,
Oh, no!
Our points leader.
Ooh, luckily he managed to keep it off the wall too hard there.
He tripped it up the hill. Good save. He nicked the right rear quarter panel there. No caution.
And that's going to be huge. That's going to put Poulin out to the lead.
That's putting Poulin into the race lead. This stage is only 35 laps. And what did we talk about last week with the transfers? Playoff points. Stage points, rather. And this, with the points being tied, this is huge. You can't make a mistake like that in these last 3 races.
Yeah, let's bring up our points format just for accuracy here. We could, just because this playoff format's fairly tricky. So the final round points reset, which they already have. We got 3 races, top 5 in points, battle to crown the champion.
As Frisch is down pit lane in the 58. This is huge.
Yeah, I mean, you guys reported earlier, Poulin might have only won in Daytona, and it might have been luck, but he's here now, and he's taking advantage of everything they're giving him tonight.
Well, and it could be a little bit of an intimidation tactic, because he's sitting there second in points, and, you know, Frisch was probably looking at his rearview mirror. I mean, it was just totally a momentary lapse of reason by Frisch that got him there. Ooh, as Poteet gets loose off the corner again. These guys are going to be screaming for tires here soon.
Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's what happened, guys. Come to think of it, because you know Frisch is not the type of guy to hold back. He pushes his car to the bitter end, and maybe he just pinned it, and it went up the hill.
Well, I mean,
yeah, definitely a valid point. I did see him earlier. He was very comfortable on the outside, it seemed, when the race started, and then as everybody started to settle in single file, maybe the tires got warm. Then he really pushed it to get that pass for the lead on the inside, which wasn't where he was running. Maybe it was a tire issue.
As it looks like he's leading the race, but we can tell you Michael Frisch, if you're just joining us, is not leading the race. He just ran it up the hill in turn 4. He had to pit, and he's on the tail end of the lead lap. If he can hold this spot, and I feel like he will since he's driving away with the new tires, he'll just gather up to the back of the field with this stage break.
Actually, I believe he's on the tail end of 1 lap down. I think if he were to get past, he would go 2 down.
Yes, he would go 2 down.
As you are correct. My mistake there, guys. I thought he was only 1 down.
And Cosman trying to make the pass here on Poteet.
And we know Cosman, when it's needed, can step up and pull a performance out. I mean, granted, you know, we say this, the NASCAR guys say this. I mean, these guys are talented enough to make something happen if they need to. But I always think of Ryan Newman in 2014 when he didn't win a race at all and came within 1 corner of winning the championship. I mean, that's the type of performance that you need when you're in a playoff format like this.
Yeah, and it could totally happen.
Yeah.
I mean, every stage counts. Cosman loves those stage points. He just loves finishing up there, you know, and he'll put his pan on the burner when he needs to, and he'll get it hot. I mean,
because I think if the stage were to end right now, and granted, we're not trying to say that Frisch won't get his way back up, but I think if it goes green, he's off the lead lap. I don't think there'd be a way for him to get back to the lead. This will technically put Poulin in the points lead over Cosman, and I think that is the first points lead change since Nazareth or Chicago, I believe, since Frisch started his tear.
Ooh,
As Cosman pushing really hard in the 24 in the Big Evil Dodge. Maybe over pushing. He was still a 10th faster than Poulin, and Taylor Morgans is faster than both of them. And just like he did in Richmond, he's interfering, for lack of a word, with the playoff cars. He doesn't care about these guys. He cares about the win.
Yeah, no, and this is a great little gaggle of cars. You know, I mean, I've always kind of attributed Rockingham to a bit of a bull ring. These guys can get incredible runs just like Cosman did on the inside of the 21 of Poulin there.
As he gets really close, nearly makes contact with Poulin. I remember, I think it was 2004. It was Kenseth and Kane, the last race of the Cup Series here, and they came off of turn 4, nearly in a photo finish.
Yeah, that was a wonderful race. I remember that. This track is known for classic finishes. Honestly, it's not a place a lot of people remember.
Gets a huge run off the corner. Poulin nearly hits it, and every time we get to the end of the stage, it's like the end of the race, and Poulin has to run way outside. Look at the momentum he's spooling up.
Whoa, Cosman on the apron.
Oh, trouble.
He saved it,
This
though.
is entertaining, guys.
He saved it. And he's not letting the 66 go. He's not letting the 21 go.
No, I was going to say, before we got to talking there, I was watching Cosman earlier. He didn't seem like he was really working that hard in the early on. He just kind of settled in right where he started, worked his way through them, and thinking maybe he's got some tire saving strategy that he's been implementing here today, because it seems like the end of this run, he's got a lot more to use than the rest of these guys.
You know, and Dylan, that's what made Cosman so dangerous and so scary, because he's so stoic behind the wheel and he'll just pull moves like this.
As Poulin, can he hold the spot on the outside at the start-finish line, put Cosman to second, and let's talk about Jeremy Stanley peeking his nose in there. He's got a little bit of ground to catch up on these guys, but Taylor Morgans doesn't care about this. He wants to take this stage win all for himself.
Yeah, that's pulling the top 5 altogether here, Josh.
And I think the 93 Ricky Johnson down on pit lane, I'm looking out of the commentary box window, he's going to get passed by the field. Maybe this is a strategy ploy for the 93. But he's a lap down, so I don't know how he would benefit from this entirely, but we'll have to see if Brandon down on pit lane can get a report for us. We'll have to check in a couple moments' time. From the commentary box window, you can see the top 5 all within a second and a half. Morgans, Cosman, Poulin, Stanley, and Sherman. Will we see some pit stops to spice this up?
Ooh. I mean, with us getting so close to the end of the stage break, I doubt it.
As Poulin fading now in the 21, he goes from the points lead to now second in points. Cosman will technically lead the points in the 24. But like I said, or like you said rather, Dylan, statistician Brandon Nicholson and pit lane reporter down there in the paddock will get those points updated for us to let you guys know. We've got 3 to go until the end of the stage here in Rockingham, North Carolina, and Taylor Morgans in his 3rd race this season. Out front, ahead of Cosman, ahead of Jeremy Stanley, Poulin, and Sherman are the 5 cars that will get stage points.
You know, and one guy who we haven't really talked about, well, we have talked about, and it's kind of been not all that great, is Keith Sherman. Look at how hard he's going to dive to the inside of Poulin here.
And Sherman takes the spot. 2 to go in the first stage. These guys have backed off considerably. Fastest lap was 23.8 by Poulin. It's now a 25.4 from Taylor Morgans that last lap. These guys are screaming for tires. As one around, it looked like it was Baker in the 9 off of turn 2 as we take the white flag in the first stage. So the inside of Cosman goes Stanley in the 60. And we know he's easy on his tires, and he waits till the very end. And he wants to take this point from Cosman. But Cosman's not going to give up in the 24.
Gonna be the battle of the line, guys.
Through 3 and 4, the green and white tablecloth for Taylor Morgans once again in Rockingham. Cosman gets second. 3rd is Jeremy Stanley. 4th is Sherman. And 5th is Wetz as Poulin fades to 3rd in points as Cosman tentatively leads the points.
Yeah, so a really speedy run here to the first stage break. Guys, thoughts? That was really exciting. I mean, literally, one of my favorite broadcasts we've ever done was the Solstice Retro Series here at Rockingham. This stuff is I mean, it's thrilling. What's your guys' thoughts?
I mean,
I'm
this
definitely in love with the track at the moment. This racing is it's some of my favorite racing I've seen all year. And I've been a part of a few great broadcasts, I feel like, but this is just, I mean, this. Why do we not race Rockingham more, guys?
as this track allows for strategy, allows for, I mean, realistically, some intense racing. We see different drivers running different things. I mean, Stanley, we know, is easy on his tires, and he went from 10th to 3rd. I mean, it's going to be interesting on this pit stop rotation to see what Frisch does. If he takes 2, if he takes 4, and he's able to claw his way back to the front. Let's see. On pit lane, Poteet goes too far in his pit box. It looks like Morgan's is going to take 4. I think everyone's got to take 4 tires here.
Stanley coming out here.
There's no strategy being played. Morgan's is going to win the race off of pit lane. Then it's Cosman and Sherman over Stanley and Poulin. And then Baker, Poteet, and Frisch and Wetz. It's Ricky Johnson, 10th car in the race, last car in the field. He is 2 laps down after pitting a couple laps ago. As take a look and see. Looks like the points. Cosman has a 3-point lead over Frisch, Poulin, and Wetz, as they all are tied with 3,001 points. Cosman has 3,004. As Poulin right now, if that lap count is correct, has 12 laps led over Frisch and Poteet with 7, Morgan's with 5, Sherman with 1. And now we're going to see how a restart. Granted, we saw the actual start. We know how that works. But we're going to see how a restart is and how these guys are going to react as we begin the final stage here in Rockingham. As Taylor Morgans, Cosman, Keith Sherman, Jeremy Stanley, Jake Poulin, Nick Baker, Dylan Poteet, Chris Wetz, Michael Frisch, and then Ricky Johnson, who's climbing up to the back of the field. He's currently labeled 1 lap down. I don't know if race control is just going to give him his other lap back or he'll have to wait and see. But we'll keep you posted on that one.
That will have to be another caution or a you have to either earn it the hard way or he'll have to get a lucky dog on that one.
I haven't seen you, and I forgot you were kind of in here. They must have gotten you all hooked up and ready to go.
That they do.
As Morgans will lead Cosman as we begin the second stage. Green flag. As Morgan's got a huge run, car length and a half, over Cosman into turn 1, and everyone's on fresh tires. Everyone feels like Superman. And realistically, I mean, granted, you want to go for the win, but Cosman can sit there. He's got a 2-car buffer over the next playoff guy.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw what I just saw, but Morgan's aired it out going down the back straightaway. Not so good through 3 and 4, but he ran that highlight on that restart and used the momentum and just shot down the backstretch like a cannon.
As on the outside of Cosman is Sherman. Tried to make that happen. Stanley got a little loose there in the middle of the corner. It buckled them up, and now Poulin with Baker and Wetz. And that's going to put him a couple spots back. Frisch is trying to make his way up through the field in the 58 after that peculiar slide/spin in turn 4 from the lead. It's not the first time that we saw that. We saw that in Nazareth when he spun from the lead. He ended up coming back to win that race. As into 3 and 4 once again. Baker on the outside of Wetz. Wetz is sneaking into the picture as the second playoff driver in the running order. And like I've mentioned before, he knows how to get it done if it's necessary, if it's getting down to that time.
Well, yeah, Lamry can back this fact up. Last time he won the championship in this format, or sorry, last time we ran this format, he won the championship, so.
Yeah, Wetz has always been there right at the end, and he does what he needs to do. He needs to do it. He battled his way in over me to go into the final 5. He was on 5 points for me and was able to outstrong me all day long and get into the final 5. And then two seasons ago in the Cup Series is the final four playoff format like NASCAR does. When we came to Atlanta, he was he was down 3 points to Cosman and I, and he was able to out-drive us both and win the championship that season. So it's always that guy that he's always there at the end, and if he needs to make a move to get himself into position to win a championship or to be there at the end, he's going to.
Speaking of, he wheeled past Cosman, and he looks like he's going to try and wheel past Taylor Morgans. He's a tenth of a second faster the last 2 laps. So the man from Texas trying to get it done.
And Josh, he might just do it
really
here. I mean, he's really setting up a move into turn 3 here. Gonna think better of it. I mean,
And
Wett's driving really, really smart right now. Look at that.
huge run for the 71 off of turn 4. Will he lead the lap? Yes, it looked like he did. We'll have to wait for confirmation. I don't think
Scored
he
as
did.
a
He?
tie. Scored as a tie on digital scoring.
As Morgans did lead that lap. I mean, it's not going to be a question if Wetz is going to lead this lap, so he'll get a bonus point, and that is huge because, like we mentioned, if it were to end right now, Wetz would be at 3,007 points, and Cosman would get 3 points. That would tie them in stage points right now.
Yeah, and this is great. We haven't really seen this from Wetz all season, and I mean, okay, Josh, can I finally admit?
Right.
One
in the
around
back,
on the back
Jacob.
stretch. It's Poulin in the 21. I think he looped it off the corner. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Dylan. Let me take a look and see. As he ran it way high, yeah, he looped it. As continue what you were about to say.
Oh, as I was gonna say, we can finally rep Wetz with that HVMP backing and that NASA backing. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit it anymore. I mean, the man's doing well. Let's praise him.
He's coming through.
He's pulling out to a second, 1.2 seconds over Morgans. He's 0.3 of a second faster that last lap. He's literally the fastest car on the track. He ran a 24.4. Everybody else is a 24.7, 8, or 9.
Yeah, by lots. And
Yeah.
then you see that gap right there, Poulin on pit road.
If you guys watch, when he hits the apex of the corner, that car looks like it is at its most comfortable, and I haven't seen anybody else's car hooked up like that. It just seems like he's really making up a lot of time and keeping a lot more speed through these corners. He's got something figured out that the rest of these guys haven't yet.
24.3 to a 24.8 over Morgans from Wetz.
You know, and Josh,
And
we
this-
take
this is
Wetz, he's
surprising
a
for me.
four-cylinder racer. I mean, Central Texas Speedway kind of has banking like this. Not as extreme, but it is another kind of like one of those bull ring sort of things. Wetz is really good at short tracks. He's really good at high bank tracks. So this suits him just fine.
Yeah, he's definitely putting in work on these hard landing, coming up out of the turns. He's really strong on these type of tracks from my experience.
He's always been good at the flowing tracks, and I've mentioned this all season long with the constant NASA references because that's what I know the best. We think about Valkenswaard in the Netherlands, how flowing that track is, it's not a Mickey Mouse track, it's not a slow track, it's a fast track, just like this. He carries momentum very well.
Yeah, and Josh, that really makes me want to ask Lambert here, because Lambert does extensive testing to all these tracks before they release them out. I mean, what's going to be Wetz's kryptonite here?
I think he's pushing it maybe a little bit too hard on these tires, which is kind of counterproductive of what Wetz is usually known for. Wetz is usually the guy that's saving tires and wait till the end of a run, and this is completely opposite of what he normally does. I don't know if it's going to pay off. It looks like it may for now. He's got over a 3-second lead over the rest of the field, so this is pretty incredible to watch here.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if almost maybe his thought process is just get it while I got it.
He's got to push. I was just about to agree with you, Dylan. He's got to push. He's got to make it. Make hay while the sun shines. I hope I got that saying right. If I didn't, I sound like an idiot. But he has to do it. He's at this. He's the dark horse. No wins. Everybody else has won, whether it's luck or anything else. He doesn't have anything, and he's got to make that work. And he actually ran 24.817 last lap. Morgans ran a 24.5. So I think, Morgans, Cosman, Frisch, Poulin, they were all faster than him last lap. The gap is 3 seconds. Let's see if it shrinks.
And then Josh, you analogize Wetz as Ryan Newman. I mean, this is a very Ryan Newman-esque thing when Ryan got into the last couple of races. So
As gap is 2.8 seconds. I mean, granted, we just crossed halfway here, gentlemen, but I think he might have overextended, like Lambert was saying, just to push it. But I mean, unless green flag pit stop started right now, this 3-second advantage, it really doesn't matter.
yeah, and Lambert, I'm really not sure if it's tire wear or tire heat that really comes into factor here. I'm not sure if you're sure.
This track is very, very hard on the tires. They actually run a harder tire compound here at most tracks.
As Poulin battling past Frisch, as the top 5 are all playoff drivers except for Taylor Morgan's in the 66, our 5th playoff driver. Let me take a look and see. It's Poulin in the 21. Who I stand corrected, who is 2 laps off the pace. So I stand corrected on that. Top 5 is Wetz, Morgans, Cosman, Frisch, and Baker.
Yeah, so Poulin trying to make up some lost time here for that spin down the back stretch.
As, like I mentioned, Joey Bailey not here tonight. Dylan Poteet pits from the 8th position in the 22. So this really, I mean, it's a bummer to see because it happened to Jonathan Taylor the first round, and now it happened to Joey Bailey. I mean, you don't show up for the first race, whether you have something wrong with your car or you can't make it, and all that work you did, is irrelevant.
Yeah, and I mean, we run a long time to, these guys run a long time. We run a long time as a broadcast crew. These guys run a long time as racers, and so, it can be difficult to try to string a whole season together as we've experienced. But yeah, all it takes is one race, and then you're done.
As Poteet exits the pit lane in the 22, he is going to be racing with Johnson and Poulin. I think he is going to be 2 laps down now, so he will be racing Poulin, but we'll have to wait and see when timing refreshes. We have to expect him, though. Yeah, he's technically ahead of Poulin, who literally on track he's ahead of, but he's going to drive right by him. I mean, he's got those fresh tires.
Yeah, and guys, that time between Wetz and Morgan's is really coming down.
I think Wetz drove through his stuff, and that's really hindering him. I mean, it's helped him, but if we close out this run, it's not, because Morgan's, let's see, 24.6, and Wetz a 25 flat, so another 4/10. So now the ebb is flowing back to Taylor Morgan's.
But Josh, what Wetz could do is he could find out that sweet spot to where he has to pit. And if he can find that right, and he can do it, and he can out-pit Morgan's, that's what's going to win Wetz the race.
Yeah, I was thinking if this run, if they do push it, it'll go a little farther here too. There's also the chance Wetz is pretty intelligent. Maybe he's banking on if I get out here 3 or 4 seconds, by the time they catch me, their tires are going to be just as bad as mine. They're going to have to get around. And that's a whole different ballgame too.
He ran a 25 flat. Remember, Poulin is off the lead lap. He's going to get by the race leader to be back 1 lap down. But now Poulin has to try and catch the 93 of Ricky Johnson, who's half a lap ahead of him, to try and get back on the lead lap, unless he can take the wave around. Lambert, if you can confirm that. I can't remember if Solstice has the wave around rule.
We do. Yeah, anybody 1 lap down. We have a caution, and they are not the lucky dog. They can take the wave around. They just can't pit.
As the gap is closed down from Wetz to Morgan's, it was 0.7 of a second. Now it was literally 0.7 of a second. Now it's 3.5. The gap was literally cut in half. He was 0.4 of a second faster that last lap, and the 66 on lap 66 closing it down on the 71.
Yeah, and there's a knock on that back door.
Off of turn 4.
There's another knock on the back door because Frisch has made his way to 3rd place.
And those two, Frisch was a 25 dead versus Cosman a 24.876. And the race lead is heating up. Taylor Morgan's the inside of Chris Wetz. And into turns 3 and 4. Wetz is trying to hold the outside. He can't make it happen. And Morgan's back to the lead in Rockingham.
Makes it look easy.
As this race, the average speed 136 miles an hour. We're already on lap 68 of 100. And we've been live for about half an hour.
Yeah, this race is moving really quickly. This is it's been a great racing, lots of clean racing, green flag. Oh, here we
As Wets
got
pits.
Wets coming down pit road.
Now we'll have to focus. If we can get the side-by-side on our commentary box camera that's focused on Wets, and if we can focus on the race leader of Taylor Morgan's, we'll have to see if the Revolution Racing crew can get the 71 in, get him out, and potentially ahead of the 66.
And here comes Morgan's around.
As Morgan stays out in the 66.
Left side's up on Wets.
As one around, it's Sherman with Stanley. And Jeremy Stanley all torn up in the 60. Caution is out here, gentlemen.
Uh-oh, bum, bum, bum.
And that's going to be a huge development there.
That's going to put the 71 to the race lead.
Say this whole race just got turned upside down. Now we're gonna get the strategy of Wets getting them tires, and he has enough laps now that based on how many we've run so far since the stage break, he shouldn't get caught if he gets that lead again.
As a huge accident on the front straightaway, I'm not sure if the director's caught up with it, but Sherman got loose nearly. I don't think he got hit by the 9 of Baker, but he got loose and went back up into the track, into Stanley, who went over. You talked about the race turning upside down. It was literally turned upside down for Stanley and our Michigan winner, all torn up in the 60.
Yeah, shades of Carl Long here.
As I was waiting to mention that. Not because of someone wrecked, but that was the one thing that I haven't mentioned. I think it was 2004, that last race. Carl Long rolled it down the backstretch. It was that same race that Kane and Kenseth battled at the line.
Yep, very early on, too. One maybe a handful or two of laps into that thing, I think, when he went over.
As Morgan's, Frisch, Cosman, Baker, Stanley technically is 5th after rolling it in the 60.
I think somebody might need to check Stanley's helmet, make sure the roll bar didn't make contact. He got doored vicious on that crash.
Sherman. Wets is off the lead lap. Wets got lapped here, guys.
Gonna take the wave around, though, I do believe.
No,
he's on pit road. He's on pit road.
He pitted.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. No.
Wets.
No.
What's his lucky dog?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Woohoo!
It's.
Thank you, Lambert, for being here. You've been such a help.
as obviously, it's not because there's an HVMP logo on the car. It's more because he was battling for the lead, and to see that, if that were to be true and he would be off the lead lap, that'd be devastating for the 71's championship hopes. But everything's
we are
okay.
biased to HVMP. We're not biased to the driver that we sponsor. We just like to see the underdog have his shot.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to run an HVMP car, we'll you in the commentary box. We promise.
You can run an HVMP car. I can't promise I'll root for you, but if you do want to be sponsored by us, we will supply a scheme.
Sure as hell not getting paid. Well, maybe.
Not yet.
Actually, Lambert, I don't know if you can talk about some exciting things we have going on for next season, or if those are going to be hush-hush.
Oh, no, everything's pretty much up in the air already. So next season we'll have a brand new package. We'll be slowing the cars down quite a bit. We'll be going towards the 2019 Monster Energy Cup Series package. Kind of that low horsepower, high downforce style package. We're going to be doing things a little bit different from a Cup. We're going to try to get rid of the dirty air package that they have. We want to put the driving more in the driver's hands and not so much of stuff they can't control. So we've been working on the package to help with that. Working on a new tire compound that will help keep the right front a little bit cooler and not have so many blowouts on the outside wall.
Yeah, I mean, I love the proactiveness, guys. Seems like a lot of exciting and positive changes. The next year sounds like it's going to be a good time.
Well, yeah, and thanks to everyone here. Thanks to everyone over at Solstice. Thanks to you guys here. Thank you, Dylan, for all you do. Lambert, I can't wait to kick off next season. It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Yep, I'm super excited. We're kicking off the season at CRI Super Speedway. And, first love of CRI and Solstice Racing. So
It's a classic. I love that track. I actually remember my first encounter there. You bumper grabbed me on like the third lap while I was leading, and I hit the wall so hard I couldn't drive. I was so mad.
you know, CRI is it's a tricky little triangle. It's
It's truly one of my
inspiration.
favorite tracks.
As
Inspiration came from Pocono. We're working on the track right now. We've configured what is now turn 2. It will now be the tri-oval. The start finish line is moving. New grandstands are going up through the now turn 2, but will be the tri-oval. Start finish line's moving over there. Pit road's moving over there. Also big work on the back stretch, which is now the front stretch.
That's
lot of
all
big
you
things
guys
going
do
on
over
in
at CRI Super Speedway is spend money, isn't it?
Yeah, see, that Solstice money coming in nice and handy now, huh?
Right?
You guys are going all out.
And I
of
think,
course,
guys,
yeah.
real quick, as I enjoy that conversation, I unfortunately was not a part of any of that conversation, but that's a rabbit hole that we're not going to go down at the current moment. Taylor Morgans, real quick, is going to be back into the race lead, and I think we're waiting for Sherman to clear an incident through race control. So that's why we are creeping along here at 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, it gives us a lot of time to BS about the good old days of Solstice. I mean, everyone up here in the booth has some sort of Solstice experience. Josh, I know yours is relatively new, but throughout the years, throughout the whole 10 years that Solstice Racing has been around, it's been just intense, fun racing. So,
As they are actually debating, guys, the reason why we are at 20 miles an hour. Sherman was on pit lane. He had a monitor stuck in the car to look at the tape. They're trying to figure out who is the free pass between Ricky Johnson or Chris Wetz, because Wetz was on pit lane. So this, I think that's why we're taking so long. I have to say that my knowledge of all these guys way back in the day, dare I say it, I'm not sure if it's not a loud word around here, but back in the Sunset Racing days, this was 10, 11 years ago. That's my knowledge of these guys when that transitioned into CRI and then to Solstice, I do believe. So it's been quite some time. I know of CRI, and I know how crazy that race can be, especially with that front straightaway the way it is now. The front straightaway is kind of like a street circuit. You've got the outside wall, and then you've got the inside wall, and there's no room to move if someone makes a mistake.
Yeah. Yep, big Indianapolis front stretch vibes when you come down to it. It's a cattle chute and it's terrifying. It's like a big angry Pocono, honestly, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was the goal. The goal was to literally me and my friend at the time, Brett Lawrence. We loved Pocono.
oh, you mean the guy who wrecked you at Talladega?
Yes, the guy that wrecked me at Talladega.
No comment.
We had a love for Pocono, and so we decided we were going to take inspiration from Pocono and make a super speed out of it. And I think we created one of the most unique tracks ever.
Yeah, definitely one of the most unique and still functional tracks that I've ever seen attempted.
Yeah, we do have very many Solstice test tracks. I know Caleb has been a really good track designer for us, and he's come up with some crazy ones. It's about every... I remember that one, Alamosa, it's like the best corner from every racetrack. So, a lot of talent there in track work, too, among us.
As it looks like we're going 1 to green this time. And once we get past the 16 miles an hour mark, I think we've cleared up what's going on. Let me take a look. Timing hasn't changed, but I think they're letting...
My timing has Wetz back on the lead lap.
This is very weird. It's nothing bad. I mean, it's good to see that we're trying to rectify this issue now instead of halfway through this run when, by the way, Chris Wetz say he's leading and he's not technically supposed to be on the lead lap.
Yeah, props to the guys tonight. It's a slightly different officiating crew with Lambert being up here with us tonight, and I feel like they're doing their best to make sure that this race is done the right way and everything's professional.
As
I've been on the. Go ahead.
Morgan's and Frisch on the front row of the grid, getting ready to restart with 25 laps to go here in North Carolina. Green flag. Morgan's
Hey,
hits
Josh,
a
who was
great
that you said's
restart.
on the outside?
Frisch with
Great.
huge tire spin.
Into turn 1, Ionescu is leading the playoff drivers through 1 and 2. Huge run for the 24. We'll have to wait and see if the 71's considered the lucky dog still. We're going to wait for the timing to refresh as Morgan's leads us off of turn 4. As Cosman second, Frisch third, Stanley fourth. Looks like Wetz is still on the lead lap. And you gotta admit, and you have to realize, he's hungry. I would be a little discouraged, a little confused, a little thinking what just happened. And you want to prove that you deserve to be on the lead lap.
Yep, you want to show that it's not a fluke. You know, he was there and then he almost had it taken away from him. Now it's just even more hungry to get back there and be like, nah, guys, I'm sorry, but tonight's my night.
Yeah, and we
As we
saw
know-
him knife through the field like butter on that last run at the beginning, so can he do it again?
We know Wetz famously does not have a microphone in his car. All these helmets, they have one built in. He says, no, I don't want one because he wants to focus on his driving. Currently sitting in 5th behind Jeremy Stanley. Stanley, that car looks pristine. I don't know what happened, but the team was able to fix the car after he rolled it on the front stretch.
Yeah, they managed to
think
bang the
they're,
fenders back out.
I was wondering if they maybe brought a composite body and didn't tell us, and they just slapped some new fenders on that thing because it looks good.
As Morgan's steals the most laps led point here in Rockingham. This is huge because I think before, let's see if it updates here. It wasn't him before. It was Poulin before. And now Poulin loses a point. So Cosman getting close to the 66 of Morgan's. Morgan's had a terrible run through 3 and 4. It was 0.2 of a second between him and Cosman. Cosman got a great run off of 4.
And
And
if
that
those
gap
guys get
is
side
now-
by side, don't count out old 58 right behind him. He's creeping back into the picture.
We know Frisch is hungry after those 4 weeks of disappointment, whether it was a blown engine, whether it was a wreck, whether it was bad luck, and we know Frisch is quick. He hasn't led the points all season because of a fluke. And those 3 wins, that's what I'd be concerned about here, guys. We got 3 races left for the season. If Frisch wins this race, maybe he'll go on a tear like he did in the middle of the season.
Yeah, I think that's one guy you don't even want to give an opportunity for him to get a match anywhere near that fire because it's liable to go up.
And to the inside of Cosman goes Frisch. And the playoff drivers are going to switch spots again. That's going to switch.
Looks
And
like Cosman might have got the wall off of 4 there.
nearly Stanley takes the spot.
Well, and Cosman, I've noticed, has been really aggressive with his tire saving this race. He's not really going to battle somebody all that hard. If you're faster than Cosman, he's just going to let you go and hope you burn up your stuff, and then he's going to pass you later.
Yeah, he
As
definitely ran that first stage strategy, and it paid off pretty well for him.
I think the 71 runs better in clean air, guys, because the 71 is not pulling the lap times that we expect him to. He is faster than everybody else except for Frisch in the top 5, but he's not 4 or 5 tenths of a second faster. It's 2 tenths at max, and that's over
Yeah.
Stanley.
Yeah, and I don't think
Definitely.
he capitalized as hard on that restart as he could have, necessarily, and so I think that's what is hindering him right now.
Yeah, it seems like all of the cars are kind of creeping slowly up and getting tighter together here, but it's not what we've seen from Wetz earlier, and he looks like he's running a little lower than he was when he was jumping out to that big lead. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Maybe it's just the dirty air.
10th and a half faster than Morgan's was Frisch. As we're closing in, 15 laps to go here in Rockingham in the opening round of the closing round. That's a mouthful of the playoffs here in 2019. The gap, 0.17 of a second. 3rd is Cosman, 4th is Stanley, 5th Chris Wetz, 6th Nick Baker, 7th Keith Sherman, 8th was Dylan Poteet, but it's now, well, it is Poteet, but he is behind Poulin and Ricky Johnson on the racetrack, so the 22 having some issues. If you're just joining our coverage here on High Voltage Media Productions, Joey Bailey not here, so the second place man in points and the man who we thought could take the fight to Michael Frisch is going like Jonathan Taylor did. Some issues in the 51 is going to put him basically out of the championship fight.
Ooh, and I don't know if you guys saw that again, but there was contact between the 9 and the 15 yet again.
These guys have raced each other hard forever. As long as I can remember. They're a lot like you and me, I have to say, Dylan. I mean, they can beat and bang, and they have a good time with it.
Yeah, they're really good friends, and, you know, I've always found myself somewhere in the field raced against Sherm. Sherm's a really tough competitor, tough guy to get around, but always runs you fair, always, you know, I mean, if he does give you the bumper, then it's all going to be in good fun. Unless you really, really make him mad, you know, I mean, you can make Sherm mad, but otherwise he's a teddy bear.
As Frisch is closing, it was 0.2 of a second even. Last lap from Morgans to Frisch. Let's see what that lap closes up. Morgans ran a 4.71 to a 4.22. It was half a tenth faster than Morgans was Frisch. Frisch technically, I think, back into the points lead. And this is what you need if you're Michael Frisch. You need to not worry about points. You need to do what you've been doing. Don't care about the playoff drivers. Just drive out the windshield, not out the mirror.
Well, I mean, he runs every race like it's a new race, and it's not even about points or anything like that. So, Frisch is born to win, and that's what he's going to try to do.
As the gap was the same last lap, it was still a 1/10.5 from Morgans to Frisch. Frisch is searching for a groove to try and find an edge over Morgans. I think if Morgans rides the middle, there's really nothing that can be done. Let's see what happens. The gap was the same. It was not a lap time difference. Everyone's in the .4s in the top 5. So I think maybe these guys are saving their tires for a last couple lap dash. I think Frisch got a better run through turn 2 there.
Yeah, and Frisch has a really great, that's what I was going to say, Josh, is Frisch has a great run going down the back straightaway. That's where he's going to catch the 66. He's going to set him up right here, Josh.
The 10th even from Morgans to Frisch. Morgans peaks a little higher that time. He knows Frisch is here.
Yeah, Frisch seems to have found that slightly higher groove that he had in the very early.
Around on the back straightaway. I don't think that's going to be a caution. Frisch trying the outside. Can't make it happen. Morgans nearly gets tagged there, I think. Or he got really loose. I couldn't tell from that angle. Into turn number 1 again. We're 6 laps to go here in Rockingham. And Cosman's peaking on these top 2 now.
Yeah, and this is so intense here. Oh, Cosman's going to take a big whiff.
As Frisch to the inside, he's got to make something
bad.
happen. Into turn
Here we
3. Go. Side by side, Morgans and Frisch to the lead in Rockingham. He's not clear nearly. Morgans is there. He's not giving up into turn 1.
And Josh,
I wanted to just yell slide job.
As through 1 and 2, lap 95 of 100. Frisch on the inside, Morgans on the outside down the back stretch. Cosman, car length behind them both. Will he go
He's
lower?
just waiting
Will he go
patiently.
higher? Will he go through the middle as Frisch gets a better run through the corner?
Cosman's like a hyena watching the Lions go for a kill right now. He's just waiting to get him a piece of the action.
5 laps to go in Rockingham, and Michael Frisch, all he needs to do is edge ahead. I say this every week. Weds bounces it off the wall in the 71. These guys are getting close, and this top 5 is edging closer. Morgan's holding his own on the outside. Ionescu gets a huge run through 3 and 4. Morgan's lost it there, and Cosman really spun it off the corner to the inside with 4 laps to go.
Looked like Cosman
Frisch.
and Morgans had some aero interference there. They both got a little loose when the fender got to the fender.
And now Frisch is going to run the outside. And now Morgans is going to have 3 laps to try and make something happen.
Yeah, these
And
guys
look at
are
Chris
really
Weds back in the picture.
Yeah, he is. These guys are really struggling for forward bite right now.
As Morgan slides it as he gets hit by Cosman. Wets goes to the inside. Yellow line is inbounds here at Rockingham, and he goes to second.
Oh, this is getting interesting, boys.
And so we thought he was out of it, and here he is.
As we're coming to 2 to go. Cosman to the inside of Wets. This is not what they need to do.
Get in line and catch him, boys. Stop wasting time.
2 laps to go for Michael Frisch. And can he gain his momentum back, or will Wets track him down?
And you got to be hating this if you're Cosman right now.
And Taylor Morgan's heartbreak again. Remember, Darlington, he got wrecked on the final lap. And this time he loses it off the final corner. He's still 5th, but he's going to be 1 for 3 so far this season. We're coming to the white flag here in Rockingham. And Michael Frisch. Still got a lap to go, but he has held off some immense pressure today.
Yep, fought back from that early incident, getting caught a lap down for a while, made it to the stage break, didn't panic, and he's right back in the driver's seat again.
As off of turn 2, Cosman got loose a little bit, but that's for third, and that does not matter. Michael Frisch through 3 and 4. We thought that he was rattled after 4 consecutive winless races, but Frisch back on the top step of the podium. He wins in Rockingham over Chris Wetz, Cosman, Taylor Morgans, and Nick Baker.
Wow, guys, just what a race tonight, man. This was a fun one. That's really all I can say. This intense racing, great clean racing, just awesome job.
Well, and it was just a full sprint. I mean, no cautions other than the stage break and that one. You know, when you only have one, when you break the race up into thirds, there's really not a whole lot you can do other than pull some crazy strategy, and we saw that today.
As let's pull him in here. I will let Mr. Dylan Livingood handle these interviews before we close this out here. I'll take that closing bit, but Dylan, I'll let you speak to our race winner.
Yeah, and Mr. Frisch, let's let you burn the house down here and light up that pit road.
I don't have first gear anymore.
You know, it's going to make it burn out pretty tough there, but, you know, what was it like just trying to hang on there to the end? I mean, you saw a lot of drivers come and go. You didn't know, I mean, I'm sure you were a little bit uncertain whether, what was going to happen with Morgan's. I mean, what kept you in it?
I was just following him because I know as well as he knows we hardly make mistakes, so that's what I was hoping for. But we just played tire game. I just tried to save a little bit more than he could, and I was just gonna push them last 5 laps. And I got around him. I faked him on the high side, so got around him pretty easily and just set sail from there.
Yeah, and 3 unique tracks coming here into the playoffs. How are you feeling about Jukasa?
I'm pretty good at short tracks. I'm alright, so we'll see how we are there. Me and Taylor have some run-ins at short courses. Getting a good bump and run at FTF at Martinsville. So should be a good race there.
Awesome. Josh, you gave us a call. Your thoughts?
As I was mentioning, we were all kind of worried that you were rattled from that that inconsistency, whether it was, you know, driver error or you getting in an accident or your car blowing up. I mean, 4 weeks is a long time in racing, and you blew up in Talladega. What were your thoughts those last couple weeks?
Race, go out there and try to do the best I could, and try to get as many points as I could each stage, and go for it.
Hey, Frisch, Dylan Body over here. I just wanted to ask you real quick: is there a future sponsorship deal between the two of us coming here? Because it seems like every time I turn up in the booth, you just put on a clinic for these boys.
We might have to work something out.
As before we let you go here, Frisch, I do want to let you know tentatively you are leading the points by 2 points over Wetz and Cosman. How does that make you feel?
All right. I mean, it's the first race. I wasn't gonna expect a big jump, but I mean, it's 2 points. I mean, I performed pretty good tonight, outperformed them, so I'm happy about that. So we'll go on to next week and try to win it again.
As you have double the wins of your next closest competitor, we'll hope to see you next week in Jukasa and see if you can close that one out too.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
As every week that I sit here next to you guys, I realize that Solstice Racing can't disappoint with 10 cars, and that was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
some of the best racing ever that I've seen.
any package you throw at these drivers, I mean, and there's a lot of these drivers who have hung around a long time, they will make it as competitive as they can, and they will fight as hard as they can for the win in the championship. These guys are the real deal.
Yep, definitely.
Did you guys have any closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
Hey, I just want to once again reiterate how good the racing was. I'm getting texts from viewers that tuned in because they knew I was going to be on commentary once again, and just what an amazing last 10 laps. Oh my God, what a race. Just hats off to the drivers tonight.
As Dylan, anything?
Lambert, I gotta pass it down to you. I mean, finally, you got to be kind of an eye in the sky for the whole thing. What were your thoughts of this whole race?
I knew Rockingham would put on a good show. It always does when we go here. It's such a unique racetrack with the weird front stretch and the tight corners, and it's tough on tires. It's tough on drivers. It makes everybody work really, really hard, and sometimes at the end, everybody gets so close together because of completely different strategies, and it just creates a fantastic finish in racing throughout the race. So I was very happy to see what I saw tonight. I hate that I couldn't take part in it. I had to break the fourth wall. I had a sister's birthday I had to go to, so I wasn't able to make it tonight. But we'll be back in the 46 Monster Energy Camry next week. Try to get a win in Jukasa. Try to finish out the season strong. I've struggled all season long with this package. But short tracks is my bread and butter. So I've got a couple of top fives this season. I'd like to get a win before I get done.
Yeah, and racing is great. Family's even better. Brandon Nicholson, crunching the numbers down on pit road. What did you see this race, and what do you see coming into these last 2 rounds?
Well, I just wanted to say, man, this points battle is still super close. Even though Bailey missed today, he's only 2 points out, getting that last place point. So he's only 2 points away from fourth. So it's just going to be intense. You guys got to tune in next week to see what happens next.
Yeah, and
As
Josh,
we
take it away.
go north of the border here, gentlemen, next week in Jukasa in Ontario, Canada, and that's going to be a track that's a lot like Pensacola, and we saw Cosman run away with that race then down in Florida. But congratulations to Michael Frisch, and from all of us here at High Voltage Media Productions, from Dylan Livingood, Dylan Body joining us this week, Brandon Nicholson on pit lane, special guest Brandon Lambert. I am Josh Mertz. We'll hope to see you next week north of the border in Canada. But until then, so long, everyone.